My name is Isabella, and this is the story of a beautiful lie. It begins in a world of silent, gilded rooms. I grew up surrounded by exquisite things: polished marble, crystal chandeliers, the quiet hum of luxury. From the outside, it was a perfect, shimmering snow globe of a life. People would look at me and see only the glow of wealth, a girl blessed by fortune's relentless hand. And I was blessed, in ways that can be measured and counted. Yet, within those vast, echoing halls, my own heart felt like the smallest, quietest thing. Money built magnificent walls, but it could not fill the hollow spaces where connection should have lived. I felt utterly, profoundly alone. I learned to find solace in the pages of books. There, love was pure, intentions were clear, and happy endings felt promised. I ached for a story like that to be mine. I craved a simple, real love, one that saw me, and not the fortune that trailed behind me like a shadow. Then, one evening, in a small gallery filled with hushed voices, I met him. His name was Marcus. He stood beside me before a painting of a calm, endless sea. "It makes you feel quiet, doesn't it?" he said, his voice a gentle, warm current. I turned and found kindness looking back at me. Not ambition, not calculation, just kindness. We talked. He asked me about the stories I loved, the dreams I held close in the dark. He spoke of simple joys, of purpose over profit, of a life built on feeling rather than finance. With him, I didn't feel like an heiress. I felt like a woman. Seen. Heard. Wanted for the first time just for myself. He was a sanctuary. Our days were filled with park benches and shared coffee, with laughter that felt light and real. He made me believe in the fairy tale. When he proposed, on a bench under a twilight sky, his eyes were brimming with a tenderness I worshipped. "I don't have much," he whispered, his hand cradling mine, "but I have all this love for you." I said yes through tears of pure, undiluted joy. The wedding was a spectacle of white and bloom, but I only saw him. I believed every word of our vows. I believed in our beginning. Then, the world began to fracture. It started with subtle shifts, almost invisible cracks in our perfect new life. He left his job, wanting to start a business, wanting more time with me. I was supportive. Then the gifts arrived. A sleek crimson car, watches that glittered coldly, suits of impossible thread count. "We deserve it," he'd say, brushing my concerns away with a kiss. His business meetings lasted deep into the night, and he'd return home smelling of expensive whiskey and distant secrets. The man who spoke of simplicity now had a hungry gleam in his eye when he asked about my father's empire, about the contours of my inheritance. The discovery was a cold, physical blow. Hidden in his desk, buried beneath false hopes, were the debts. Mountains of them, from a time before me, before us, a secret history of desperation he had carefully locked away. My hands trembled as I held the proof. That evening, I confronted him, the papers a shield and a weapon in my shaking hands. His face transformed. The kindness evaporated, replaced by a sharp, defensive glare. "Why were you snooping?" he snapped, his voice a lash. The warmth was gone, and then came the chilling, casual confession. It's our money now, Isabella. That's what marriage is. Our money. The words iced my veins. The facade was crumbling, and the true landscape of our marriage was revealed, barren, strategic, and cruel. He began to isolate me, criticizing my friends, bristling at my family, his love now a tool for control. The beautiful house became a gilded cage, and I was its heartbroken, foolish bird. The final, devastating truth came on a night drowned in liquor. He staggered in, his smile a cruel slash. I asked about his business, and he laughed, a sound that shattered my last illusion.
Why else would a man like me marry someone like you?
He slurred, his eyes hollow. Your family name. Your family money. That's the real prize. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Every tender moment, every soft promise, every kiss, all of it dissolved into dust, revealing the ugly, calculated machinery beneath. He didn't love me. He never had. I stood there, my soul breaking apart, watching the stranger I had called my husband. That night, I locked myself away and wept until I was hollow. I wept for my own blindness, for the love story I had written in my head that never existed on the page. But from the depths of that despair, a new feeling stirred, a cold, clear fury. He had used me, but he would not erase me. I called my father. With a voice cracked but steady, I told him everything. His response was an anchor in the storm. You are not alone, he said, and for the first time in months, I believed it. Marcus pleaded at the locked door, his apologies as empty as his heart. I did not open it. That simple no was my first step back to myself. When my father and our lawyer arrived, they found a man cornered by his own deception. The evidence was undeniable. He signed the papers, his grand design reduced to a quiet, shameful exit. I watched him walk out, his bags in hand, without a final glance. The heavy door clicked shut. And in the immense quiet that followed, I did not feel emptiness. I felt peace. A fierce, hard-won peace. Healing was a slow, deliberate journey. I had to forgive myself for being trusting, for wanting love so desperately I mistook a performance for the real thing. I put my hands in wet clay at a pottery class, creating something solid from formlessness. I returned to old, true friends whose eyes held no greed. At an animal shelter, I found unconditional love in the warm nuzzle of a creature who asked for nothing but kindness. The pain did not vanish, but it transformed. It became a scar, a reminder of my resilience, not just of my wound. I learned that my worth was never in a bank vault. It is here, in the steady beat of my heart, in the strength I gathered when I thought I had none. My story is a cautionary tale. Look beyond the charming smile. Question the story that seems too perfect. Trust must be earned, not given away with hopeful desperation. But it is also a story of redemption. You can be shattered, and then you can gather every piece and rebuild yourself, stronger at the broken places. You can learn to trust yourself most of all. I am Isabella. A man married me for my fortune and broke my heart, but he did not break me. I emerged from the wreckage of his lies, and I rebuilt my life on a single, unshakable truth: my own worth. And that is a wealth no one can ever steal.